Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Hilkemeyer from ICTE Solutions Australia, and it's my absolute pleasure and privilege to have Andrew Brody from the EdTech Group, who also runs Junior Engineers. Now, if you haven't heard about Junior Engineers, they have won award programs for programs. They have won awards for programs for kids. They also do teacher PDs and after school and holiday programs in coding, and have just been doing just phenomenal work. And like I said, today, we have Andrew, and he has been happy to speak to us today about what they can do for children and for schools and for teachers today. Andrew, it's all yours.
Thanks for that lovely introduction, Michael. And it's great to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about EdTech Group and the different businesses that make up EdTech Group. Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy to start with EdTech Group, which is the parent company of all of our businesses. So EdTech Group essentially is a group of businesses, Brisbane-based, who all have something to do with education or technology. Starting with our newest edition, Cyber Pathways. So Cyber Pathways delivers accredited and non-accredited cybersecurity training courses. In terms of how we can help schools. Schools are a target for cybercrime and becoming more and more so. There was a high-profile Queensland-based school that was hacked late last year, and a lot of the work that schools do on cybersecurity really revolves around hardware. Over 90% of cybercrime that happens in Australia is actually due to human error. So that's the way we store our passwords, the passwords we choose, links that we might click. All of those type of things are the most likely things to cause a cyber. So Cyber Pathways delivers culture and awareness training at schools, not just for staff, but for senior executives at schools and also for parents and students. We also have a business, Schoolbag, which I'm the general manager of. Schoolbag is a communications platform that's designed to streamline and centralize communications between parents and schools. So, if a lot of you that I'm talking to are probably teachers at schools, but if you're parents that have children at schools, you'll know that you might get any mix of text message, email, Facebook post, and it might come from different people within the school. Schoolbag really aims to really simplify and streamline the way that schools communicate with parents. It's a product that's used by over 1,100 schools in Australia, and not many of those are based in we're really aiming to grow the business in Queensland, and we think that given how fragmented the way that schools communicate with parents is, we think we've got a lot for them to be able to help. And then obviously to Junior Engineers, which to put it in a basic sense, we're a digital technologies education business. We exist to deliver high quality and engaging digital technologies education to kids. We do that in a number of ways. Our after school classes are designed to be very educational. So the students work through workbooks. Their work gets ticked off, uploaded into a portal, which the parents get to see and keep track of. We deliver, I think, 190 classes a week across Australia, majority of those being in Queensland. We've also got school holiday programs. Now, the school holiday programs are designed to help parents out with holiday care for their students. They're also educational. The kids are learning core coding competencies, but they're also first and foremost fun. So our holiday camps are designed to be a really fun way that kids can spend a few days over the school holidays. Junior Engineers also has a couple of other programs, which I'd love to chat briefly about. One of them is Deadly Coders. So we know that when it comes to who's graduating from STEM related subjects at the higher education level, First Nations, Australians. So we've got a program to the Coders which aims to provide engaging and positive experiences with STEM from a young age for First Nations students. That program is in its really early stages. We've been able to deliver so far to over 200 students in Queensland, and you know, I think there's a lot more we can do in that space, and we're pretty dedicated to working in that space. CodeFlix is a online video streaming service for coding tutorials. So it is all of junior engineers content that we might deliver in a classroom on a daily basis. It's delivered by our instructors, so they're not paid actors, they're not reading from the script. And all of the content has actually been developed and written by teachers who specialize in the digital technology space. So CodeFlix is a really good way to help teachers who are, they may be really confident, and this is what I find a lot when I talk to schools and teachers. If you talk to a teacher, especially one with a lot of experience, they're very confident in the way that they teach the digital technologies curriculum. When it comes to teaching coding as part of the digital technologies curriculum, sometimes there's low confidence levels. And I think that CodeFlix is not only a tool to be able to help with teaching, but also a tool that is very useful for teacher professional development. Because if you're a teacher and you want to know how to teach a project in Scratch about if statements, you can find the if statements CodeFlix video and have your kids go through that tutorial video. And if you're watching along, you're learning how to teach if statements using Scratch. So I think that you know, there are many benefits to using a platform like CodeFlix, and I'll be happy to show the platform a little bit later on as well. In terms of junior engineers, we were formed in 2013. This is pre digital technologies in the national curriculum. And a couple of local schools in Brisbane sent a note home asking if there were any parents who were interested in teaching an after-school coding club. So the junior engineers founders were both parents at that school and also engineering academics at the University of Queensland. They were friends and they put their heads together and agreed to teach this coding club. And then the school up the road got wind. They sent a letter and they wanted a coding club as well. And Junior Engineers was formed half a day Fridays from a garage for the first few years. And it was engineering academics who were hiring their students, the engineering students, to teach the classes. Fast forward to 2017, that's when we really became a full-time business. Our managing director, Adam, started. I started not long after. And we're now teaching nearly 200 classes per week in Australia. And we run nearly 100 holiday workshops each school holiday period. We actually employ over 150 young people who are our instructors. A lot of those young people are engineering academics, but we also now hire a lot of education students. The benefits are different for each cohort. Our engineering students are really interested, they're subject matter experts. They know everything that needs to be known about coding and technology, and they're super interested in that space. But they're going to go out into the big wide world in the next 3 years, and they need to learn how to confidence. And so for them, they're getting some really good soft skill development. Talking to groups of people, even if they're kids, this helps develop your confidence when it comes to communication. And then with our education students, a lot of them are saying to us, we get 1 unit on how to teach digital technologies, and they might want to specialize, or they might just want to be ahead of the game, but they've got a really good grasp on things like behavior management, class management, how to handle kids. But we give them professional development on the digital technology side of things, so the coding. We provide all of the content for our instructors and ongoing professional development. So, I think that it's a really exciting time for junior engineers. We are growing really fast, but we're also looking for more schools in Queensland who want to host our programs. And Michael, we were talking about this before we went on air, and that's about, you know, the way that we operate is a little bit different than a lot of digital technologies businesses. We do have qualified teachers who are digital technology specialists who deliver our teacher professional development. And we can cater and customize courses that meet the needs of schools might have niche needs. You know, the last program we did was a customized Arduino project
Yep.
for some schools in towns. We had about 5 teachers who learned how to teach a customized Arduino project. But really, the majority of what we do is extracurricular. You know, we hire space off schools, but we see it as a symbiotic relationship. We're offering important extracurricular activity for the students. We're also providing income for the school in the form of higher rental fees. So we hire space under a templated hire agreement, and you know, we're designed to be very headache free.
Yeah.
And in terms of junior engineers, you know, that's the 30,000 foot view. That's what we do.
That's awesome. So yeah, you just gone through and explained a bit about like the main people of who are, you know, really involved in the professional development part.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so we got you know, there are, you know, actual teachers who, you know, who specialize in digital technology. There is engineers as well.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's a really great combination, you know, because you just sort of, you know, click them together, and you know, one is a specialist in the subject, one specialist in the curriculum, and you know, yeah, that's a really good combination.
Yeah. So we're very conscious that schools, you know, have a lot of expertise, and that we need to deliver extra value, you know, in terms of what schools can deliver. So, you know, we see our programs a lot as either an extension program or an extracurricular program that complements what schools are doing in the technology space. And we're actually pretty flexible as well. So if the school says, look, we want you to come and offer an extracurricular option, but we're actually teaching this particular subject area at the moment. We don't, you know, we're pretty flexible with what we teach. In terms of our staff, so I'm actually a qualified and registered teacher. We have 3 of those on staff here in head office, and our head of curriculum, Ian, is actually a developer. His first life was a developer for a big bank, and then he decided he didn't like that and went into the teaching degree. So our head of curriculum, Ian, really has the best of both worlds, where he's got that developer background, but he's also an educator and a qualified
education as well. That's
100%.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and really, you know, we don't sit around planning units of work and marking work and all of this sort of thing, and we don't have other subject areas we teach in. Our pure focus is how can we teach digital technologies in the most engaging way for kids, and that's what Ian focuses on. And you know, although we teach Scratch, Python, Minecraft education, you know, all these type of things, we do teach them in really engaging ways. And as a former teacher myself, you know, I've seen the way that's, for example, Scratch gets taught to young kids. And you know, when you've got a lot of other things that you've got to focus on, it's hard to come up with really engaging lessons. But you know, that's what we do, and you know, we can really focus in on cross curricular ways to engage on projects that are gamified, you know, all these types of things build engagement.
Yeah. So what have you found that, you know, schools most likely tend to gravitate towards in terms of your programs? Like, you know, do they want more Scratch or Python or you know,
yeah, good question. So the majority of our schools are wanting Scratch for primary school age children, and Python or JavaScript for the seniors, for the high school students. I think our most popular program with students and parents, however, is like Arduino for the high school kids and Minecraft education for the kids. So Minecraft education, obviously, it's 500 million people worldwide who use Minecraft education. It's a very popular platform. The Microsoft themselves have done a really good job at making the platform for the education, and you can do some really engaging stuff in there. I think that's an area where I think teacher professionals would be super helpful. If
Yeah.
you're a teacher and you're trying to think of ways to engage your kids, if you know how to teach coding using Microsoft, got a big advantage.
Yeah.
In terms of our Arduino stuff for high school, and I don't know how much of your audience is split between high school and primary school, Michael, but we do customized Arduino projects, and we've got about 5 or 6 of them. So these are they're not off the shelf kits. These are prototypes that we designed and built ourselves, and then we build the content around that prototype. So yeah, I think that that's probably the most popular high school program.
In terms of with the schools themselves, you would at times get maybe like P12 schools that would want to sort of maybe split the different programs. When that when that situation arises, is a real connection between both the primary and the secondary curriculum in terms of how they can be connected together? Or
I think it's in a situation like that where, and I can give an example here as well. In a situation like that, it's a negotiation with the school as to here's the content that we teach. This is what it looks like. Wouldn't be super common for us to go into curriculum descriptors and things in that much detail with the school. We would talk about content areas, and so probably the best example I can think of is Kelvin Grove State College. So we teach 3 different topics at Kelvin Grove State College. We teach Python for upper primary, and that sort of spills over into lower secondary.
Yeah.
So we'll teach kids in grade 5 who are at primary school all the way up to kids in grade 7 or 8 Python. And then we also teach an Arduino program there. And so that program is only available for the high school students. So the primary school kids can't attend them. But essentially, I sat down with the head of ICT a long time ago at Kelvin Grove State College, and we just worked through, these are the different programs that we've got. Let's negotiate a schedule that works. And look, they've been a partner of ours for a long time. We get amazing student numbers there. And I think that's a good template for the way that our programs can work. It's that consultative approach to talking to schools about what they want their kids to be learning after school in a particular environment. We essentially work off educational best practice research, for example. So we tend to not run programs for children under the age of 7. We get a lot of demand, for parents that want to send their kids along. And what we really want students to be well developed when it comes to literacy and numeracy before they're learning higher order thinking skills like computational thinking and critical thinking, problem solving. So we start at grade 2, and then really once students are ready to move, I think the next question is, if you've got a student who's really engaged and doing well with the drop and drag visual based coding, when do we transition those students on to text-based coding? And there's a couple of ways that we can do that. We do that via a platform, CodeMonkey, sometimes, which is activity game-based text-based coding in CopyScript, which is similar to JavaScript. And that's a really good way to transition from visual-based coding towards that text-based coding. generally with our Python classes, we'll wait for grade 5. And I think kids can grasp text-based coding from year 5 onwards. That's a little bit earlier than the curriculum prescribes. But I think that this is another area where we can have that. I think when we first looked at what junior engineers was teaching, one of the things that I was hearing from schools was real difficulty that students had adapting, transitioning from learning uh, drop and drag code to text-based coding. And I think part of it was the way that it was being, right? So I think if you're in Python and you try and execute a piece of code that doesn't work and it just says no, it doesn't give you any feedback. The code just doesn't execute, right? So as a student, when you're trying to learn in that environment, it's not overly engaging. But if you've had 2 or 3 years of coding in an activity-based platform, where if you get the code wrong, it'll actually go back and tell you what you did wrong, and then give you another go at it. And then when you do get the code executed wrong, the activity will actually play out, and you'll be able to visually see where you got the code wrong. So, yeah, that was a need that we saw, probably about 4 years ago that needed to be filled, and I think we're filling that at a lot of schools throughout Queensland at the moment.
Okay. In terms of coding, I know you specialize in digital technologies, but with coding, what skills are transferable, do you think, in other content areas? So, for example, could a student use coding skills in an English, sort of context? Yeah.
I think the way that we look at it is because we specialize in digital technologies, we look at it the other way around. We look at what other skills or what broader skills can we integrate into our content. And obviously you've got the main overarching skills, which are problem solving, critical thinking, computational thinking, all of those important sort of broader skill sets. But I think that as an example of a cross-curricular link or other area, I think, and I've done this as a teacher myself, right? So this is not criticizing teachers. This is what I did when I was a teacher. You've got to teach a lesson in Scratch. Okay, so we're going to put a sprite on the screen, and then we're going to write some code to move that sprite around the screen. Okay, so the kids would probably enjoy being in Scratch and not learning math. But how engaging is that? I'm sure. Now, one of the first junior engineers Scratch programs we have is tessellations of patterns. So rather than moving a sprite around the screen, they're going to draw really cool, different colored tessellating patterns. And so you're not only are you teaching coding, but you're integrating in cross-curricular links of maths, angles, patterns, tessellations, all those type of things. And that's all in our theory and concept of producing those theories into students.
Okay. You mentioned.
I hope that explains it.
It does, yes.
Because a lot of teachers will be trying to integrate digital technologies into a unit of work in another area, whereas we only do it the other way around. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You guys are the experts. How to use it. So, if that's, if you find that works the best way, I think it's an example that many teachers can follow. So no, that's great. You mentioned that you could do a bit of a demo on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. So to do that, I'll have to share my screen, and I just want to make sure that when I do that, I do host disabled.
Okay, there you go. Done it.
Okay. So with this one, there should be a little share sound button, which I'll try and do. And let's share. I might just share the screen and see if I can. There we go. Okay, can you see my screen,
I
Michael?
can, yes, yeah.
Excellent. So this platform that we're sitting in here is the teacher dashboard for CodeFlix. So you can see that we've got many different subject areas. Now, these are all um, linked to the digital technologies curriculum. And we've got many different types of content in each of the areas. So we've got start with Scratch. We've got intermediate, introductory, beginner, intermediate, advanced. And then you go to Minecraft education, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. In the Minecraft education scientists tutorials, there's chemistry and electricity, which again, that's cross-curricular links to science, which is super engaging for students. We've got 3 levels of JavaScript, some Roblox content, and we actually have quite a bit of Python content, and we've got an integration there with microbits. So that's all the different types of content. They're broken down into these little modules. So say I click on the module here of beginner. What I'll have is a lot of different projects that can be built in Scratch. Now, these are relatively engaging activities like building a game, for example. So create the Fizz game, create a maze, there's drawing polygons. Here's the Angry Birds one. So you can see there that I've got a bit of a progress tracker for whether or not I've completed that content. And then if I click on the module itself, I've got a couple of options over here. We've got the video. I might just play the video quickly. I'm not sure how I've got my sound set, so this could be a little loud. Just down a little, but I'll play the video. So just before I start the video, I would like to point out this is what we call PIP technology, so player in player. So this is specialized technology that we've been able to put our tutorial videos in situ in the Scratch platform. So rather than having to use 2 screens and watch the tutorial on one screen and code along on the other, you can actually play our coding tutorial while it's sat within the Scratch platform.
Space key pressed block and then change the number from 0 to
As
12.
the video
Now that we have set the height to 12, we want to use the variable to change the height of Flappy. To do
Sorry, that was probably enough. So as the video is playing, I can actually still code in the background and listen along to what our instructor is teaching. And as you heard, that's not a scripted video. That's one of our experienced instructors who taught this stuff, so they know what they're talking about, and they're engaged. So I think that the ability to code along in the platform while you're watching the tutorial is amazing. I'll just click here on the lesson guide. So each module comes with teaching resources. So you can see here, this is the Flappy Bird project, and we've got all of our theory in really engaging slides for the teachers to use. So not only does it go through all of the different elements, what you're building, it then also goes through step-by-step the code. So if you are a teacher and you're not 100% confident with coding, you know that you can pull CodeFlix out, press play, put the teacher resources on a screen, and that it steps it out for yourself and for the students so that they know exactly what code needs to be on their screen. And as a teacher, all you should really need to do is move along on the resources to where the students need to be, and just check in with the students to make sure that no one's been left behind and no one's stuck. So each of our, need to maybe minimize here because I've got a panel up the top here. So you can see that there's teacher resources. Once we complete the course, the students get a dashboard where you can download a certificate that they've completed. So that's obviously Scratch. There are programs in JavaScript, which is text-based coding. And you can see again, we've got that player-in-player technology that lets students code along while they're playing that.
Hi everyone, I'm Angelica from Junior Engineers, and today we will become digital artists and create a super cool bouncing name program using JavaScript.
Yeah, so look, I remember as a teacher, teaching BTN, where you do your BTN. I don't know if they still do that. It's been a while since I've been in the classroom, but
there's a flashback for you.
Yeah, but I see this as something a little bit similar where the students are all sort of working along as the video is playing.
Yeah.
The teacher can stop the video at any time to ask questions, check understanding, all of those sort of things. And it's a fantastic tool developed in Brisbane by a Brisbane-based business. And we're really excited to have as many schools in Queensland use this as possible.
Well, that is just I really like that concept, Andrew. Is the fact that it's you got the guide there, step-by-step guide, and you got the video. It just makes it really easy, for teachers to follow and to learn, and then to not only to learn but to apply in the classroom as they're doing it.
Absolutely.
It's just great.
And I think probably a little bit more background onto why we came up with that platform. So we are the exclusive distributors in Australia for a platform called CodeMonkey. Now, essentially, CodeMonkey is a platform which is a bit more activity based. So the students are coding along to solve a problem, but it gives lesson plans. So the teachers are actually standing up in front of the class and teaching. So there's really broken down sort of lesson plan, which even gives teachers examples of questions to ask. It's very detailed. But what we found was even with that level of support, there were still some teachers who were not confident to get up in front of the class and teach them how to code. Not every school has a specialist digital technologies support. So the CodeFlix really takes that platform idea to the next level, where yes, we're providing a platform where your students can code within that platform, but we're not leaving the teaching up to you. We're going to actually take care of that part of it as well. So I think that was the rationale behind the platform. It's very early stages for us, and we're still developing new features. But the platform's ready to go, and I'd love to talk to any schools in Queensland that would, or Australia for that matter, that would be interested in a platform. I could take you through and show you a little bit more that there is there to it, and it's very well priced as well, very reasonably priced for a platform for schools, and happy to talk to any schools.
Could so schools, Australian schools, they'll be able to have access to it. But what about schools that are outside, overseas? Is it still possible for them to have access to the same platform themselves? Or
great question. So the exciting answer is that there's more students outside of Australia currently using the CodeFlix platform than there are inside Australia. So we've got, I think it's over 20,000 students in the US currently logging into CodeFlix and using it. We've got supplier agreements with some countries where the platform is accessible, and somewhere and we have other countries who we've spoken to where unfortunately the platform can't be accessed. So for example, the videos that sit inside that LMS platform are hosted on Vimeo, and Vimeo is blocked in some countries throughout Asia. So for example, platform could not be accessed in China, can't be accessed from Indonesia, but there are certainly countries, more broadly in the US at the moment than it is in Australia.
But obviously, we'd like to sort of see, you'd like to see more Australian schools take this up
100%,
and use it in their teaching as well.
So the exciting news is that we've just signed an agreement with MTA, Modern Teaching Aids Australia. So they're the biggest educational resource distributor in Australia. and they'll be distributing this product from I think this month.
Oh,
I
wow.
think that yeah, so for us that's really exciting, but we'd obviously still, we're a business that deals exclusively with schools and parents. And the more we have conversations with schools, the more we learn about schools, and that helps us guide what we do as a business, because we're in the business of supplying solutions for teachers. And so yeah, even if you can purchase from MTA, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to have a conversation with teachers about what they like about the platform, what they don't like about the platform. It's continuously growing and evolving. And yeah, the more conversations we can have, the better.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, we'll certainly, help you out with that. Is there anything else that you sort of like, people at schools, teachers to sort of know, what, you guys can do?
Yeah, look, I think just a couple of observations that I've had. I've been teaching in Queensland for 15 years, and then I've been working in the education sector, as well. And so a couple of observations that, for schools, they do get bombarded. So, many emails, many spam marketers, trying to sell things to schools. I think that can lead to some schools really, really closing off to help from outside. But there are solutions out there that are developed by teachers, locally at local businesses, that can actually really help schools, and that's what we're here to do, is help schools. So I think not being closed off to external help to solve internal problems is one of the big pieces of advice I would have for teachers. I think that we get lots of really good FaceTime with principals, deputy principals, teachers at conferences, but conferences for small businesses, we just got quoted $32,000 to attend one particular conference. So for a small business that provides great solutions, you then have to go directly to schools, and that's really difficult to get time talking to a relevant person at a school. So yeah, that's one piece of advice. I think the other one is, my observation is that there's a lot of schools out there who've gone really hard on spending money on STEM resources. And they have a lot of teachers at those schools who aren't confident enough to teach with those resources. And one big example of that is drones. I've seen schools with just a cupboard full of brand new drones that have never come out of their boxes. And I've sort of said, what's going on here? And they'll say, well, we bought these fantastic drones. Now we've got to figure out how to teach a subject with them. So,
what to do with it, yeah.
Yeah. So really, building teacher capability in spaces like, being able to teach a class with Ugly, to teach a class with a drone, to teach a class with Lego robotics. I think that the first step in any really successful digital technologies approach is don't go out and buy all of the fancy equipment before you have the capability of the teaching staff to be able to use that equipment. Yeah, so those are my two really key things that I've noticed over the journey. Being open to external help, and building your teacher capability as a first point of call.
Yeah, those are wise words. Thank you so much, Andrew, for your time today, and for your knowledge and expertise and information about the EdTech group and junior engineers and all the other areas that you specialize in. Again, it's been my privilege and pleasure to meet you guys, because you're still doing such phenomenal work with children and in schools today, and I look forward to seeing a lot more of the great work that you guys do. So thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you, Michael. It's great to be here.
And if you would like to know more about how you can successfully integrate ICT in your classroom today, why not become a member of our ICT in Education Teacher Academy, where there are over 60 plus online technology professional development for teachers in early childhood education and in primary education. Become a member now for just $50 Australian per month. Cancel anytime.